Good morning and welcome to Mice Markets and Logistics for Supply of Events. This is Mr. Teffin, and in today's session we are going to talk about the event shutdown. In this session we will be discussing the nature and purpose of the post-event evaluation. We will also be understanding the needs of the event stakeholders and evaluating them, and applying the knowledge gained from the post-event evaluation process to the future planning of another event, or of the same event again. If you remember this chart, we are now at the shutdown process. So as you remember, this is after the event has happened, and it consists of different aspects. No job is over until the paperwork is done. Information is the lifeblood of an event operation and organization, and it must be captured and stored properly. Managing information must be a constant and consistent activity that is governed by sound administration procedures. Information is power and powerful, and must be collected and controlled appropriately. The complexity of the event relates directly to the event shutdown. If it's a small event, very easily just turn the lights off and clean it up. Or in repeated events, as it runs quickly and smoothly, because all the subcontractors know exactly what to do, how to get their equipment out, how to dismantle the things. But if this is a first-time event, it will take a lot longer and be a lot more laborious. To make it simpler, the event closedown, or the shutdown, I've divided it into three different parts: the physical closedown, the administrative closedown and the duties, and then the evaluation and the recording. Some of these tasks will include the work breakdown structure, responsibilities list, the schedule, risk analysis, the debriefing, surveys, and many more. In the first part, we were talking about the physical shutdown, so the crowd dispersal, the equipment shutdown, and the staging area shutdown. Normally it's not possible to start with the shutdown process until the crowd leaves the venue, so it's very important to have lots of exits, good transportation in a safe environment. Be careful with traffic and control the traffic, because when people leave events, they leave without thinking. They're talking about the event. It could be interesting also to have staggered entertainment. We talked about this in the supply of customers, and it's the same for when leaving. Tasks such as packing can be started while the crowd's attention is elsewhere. For the equipment, we must have a load-out schedule with the correct exits, and the people should know the correct loading docks that they will leave. One important thing to remember when dismantling equipment is to have the number on the boxes and display the content lists. This can be very important for organizing and setting it up in another location again. It must have a sign-off. Scheduling should be also in place for dismantling the barriers. Broken things need to be signaled so that they can be repaired before the next event. The material should be clean, and if it can't be clean at the moment, it should have a planning for cleaning in advance before the next event. Don't clear the toilets straight away. They should be one of the last ones, so that the people who are clearing can also use them. And in some cases, we could even sell or auction off some of the equipment if we're never going to use them again. It's a good way of making another little bit of revenue. When we're talking about the on-site and the staging area, the cleaning and everything should be back to normal. We should think about the environmental assessment and make sure that if we're on a piece of land or grass, it should be back to the original state. We should be thinking about our lost and found, hand over the venue back to the owners, and one way of doing this properly is to have taken pictures before the event started, so that when we give it back, we are sure we're giving it back in the same way. The last thing we do here is called an idiot check, and it's to go through every single place one more time to make sure we haven't forgotten anything. Next part are the administrative duties. With the contractors, we must make sure we release the contract. We thank you, of course. With the entertainment, we also have to pay them and send them off appropriately to make sure that they would come back if you wanted them. Thank you letters, awards, recommendations are also interesting. As for the HR department, of course, the big thank you, the final payments to all the employees and volunteers. Get a debriefing and feedback for next year. And one very important part too, a celebration party to make sure that everyone is happy. At the event office, there will be a few weeks still after the project has actually closed that we're still doing things because we might be still having to pay people, giving back sponsors and grants, making sure we're okay with all the liabilities and the lost and found. So you must remember to have an event office that is open for you to be able to do all of these tasks. In the finance part, we must be sure to pay all the bills, make sure we have an exact count of all the tickets that were sold and all the tickets that actually were used and people came. It's important to know the difference. We finalize all the audits, all the external audits too, and it must be done as quick as possible so that we can close everything off. It is important to keep all your records, descriptions of any accidents or thefts or whatever can happen. Photo evidence is very good, video evidence too, because you are liable still for some time. And somebody could also always come back with some legal action against you. The third part of the shutdown is evaluating and recording. So a debriefing is very important, and also getting some information. The sources of these informations could be sponsors, mystery guests, staff, visitors' observations, coordinators, maybe even the government, security or police, even some specialists. And it is divided, of course, into two: the quantitative information, which could be visitor and participant data, the sales, the target market, the profiles, attendance statistics, financial reports and accounts, financial balance sheet, etc. Or it could be qualitative, which would be the visitors' perceptions, questionnaires that were returned, or exit surveys, maybe recorded or structured conversations, chats, or structured interviews. Staff and volunteer feedback is also important. Management notes for the next time, and any comments, and even some social benefits. The important thing with this feedback, either from the client, from whichever client, it will give you some important information which could then help you with your next event. The surveys and suggestions are very important. They could also give you some information of how the event is going, if there should be a next one even or not. Part of this evaluation also is collecting any press clippings or video news, reviews of the event. This could be a good thing for the future. So anything that comes out after, you should be keeping well in hand, any press releases, etc. So in summary, the event closedown is one of those aspects that we receive insufficient attention to. It's always the temptation is to get cleared and finished as quickly as possible. But if we're not careful, it could be a recipe and disaster for ourselves, for accidents, for the future, if we don't close everything down properly. So it's time to do everything properly and then sit back and reflect on what went right and what went wrong. Thank you very much for your time, and see you in class.